Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnerships with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. Smithville Fiber Internet Security Solutions and Voice in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger and Robertson Attorneys at Law, utilizing 75 years of experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. A bill making its way through the State House could redefine tenure for faculty and give the government more control over trustees.
Everybody recognizes the problem is a lot of Hoosiers just don't want to go to higher ed because they don't trust universities. And so this is what we're trying to fix.
We'll have more on this story and the latest news coming out of the State House. Safe Haven baby boxes offer mothers a way to anonymously surrender babies under 30 days old with no questions asked.
Whether it be a safe haven surrender, whether it be an adoption plan, whether it be a parenting plan. We want to make sure that these parents are choosing what they want to do.
Ahead, we visit with a family who adopted a baby box child. And Indiana's Attorney General has launched a website for the public to submit examples of classroom material they find objectionable. We'll have these stories, plus the latest news from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Well, a bill heading to the Indiana House could do away with tenure as we know it and replace university trustees elected by alumni with those appointed by State House leadership. Ethan Sandwise explores what this bill would mean for the future of higher education in Indiana if passed.
Professors and university administrators are sounding the alarm over a bill they say could eliminate academic independence at Indiana's public universities. Senate Bill 202 would change the definition of tenure, guaranteed permanent employment for faculty that can still be terminated with cause.
A body of peers confers tenure on the basis of a significant 6-year apprenticeship, and that allows faculty the freedom to pursue their inquiries and their teaching without fear of reprisal.
This bill would make it easier to fire veteran professors on political grounds. Rather than a professor's peers, the Board of Trustees would determine who receives tenure. The trustees could then review the status of their tenure every 5 years, based partly on their commitment to what the bill calls intellectual diversity. What that means is up to the trustees.
Now, one could say that's only every 5 years, but the fact is the prospect of such a review will chill freedom of inquiry and freedom of teaching and freedom of expression.
The bill's author, Republican Senator Spencer Deary, says his bill will help politically conservative students feel more welcome on campus.
The problem is a lot of Hoosiers just don't want to go to higher ed because they don't trust universities. And so this is what we're trying to fix.
Deary cited a Gallup poll that showed that 46% of right-leaning students on Indiana campuses feel uncomfortable speaking up about their beliefs. He insists his bill is not an attack on tenure.
And infringing on academic freedom is a red line we should not cross. But we don't need to give up on these values to curb the excessive politicalization and viewpoint discrimination that threatens our state's workforce goals.
The bill creates a complaint system whereby students and other employees can accuse professors of not meeting certain criteria related to intellectual diversity.
So a politically appointed body will now be in a position to review faculty on political criteria that they alone set.
That politically appointed body is the Board of Trustees. Along with placing them in charge of tenure, SB 202 also changes the composition of these boards. Currently, the IU Board of Trustees has 6 members appointed by the governor and 3 elected by alumni. Deary's bill would replace 2 of the elected positions with 2 appointed by the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House. Republicans hold a supermajority in both chambers.
We're headed down that path where we're going to start micromanaging these institutions of higher learning to the point where we're going to stymie their progress.
Taylor tried to amend the bill to give both parties an appointment.
To have the minority party actually appoint someone was rejected along party lines.
Deary once served within higher education as chief of staff for former Purdue president Mitch Daniels. After his bill passed the Senate, we asked how it would be perceived by his former colleagues.
I've worked very closely with nearly every Indiana institution to get this right. This is too important not to.
Ball State and Purdue University declined to comment, but IU President Pamela Whitten sent a statement criticizing the bill's potentially chilling effect on academic freedom. Whitten says the bill could put academic freedom at risk, weaken intellectual rigor, and impair IU's ability to attract faculty. She added that the consequences could threaten not only the status of IU, but the economic and cultural vitality of the state.
If you're an academic, knowing that you'll be subject to review by a politically appointed legislature every 5 years, and in fact the initial grant of tenure will be subject to such review, you will not choose to come to the state of Indiana.
Still, the bill is not without its supporters. It passed through the Senate 39-9 along party lines.
I was not initially intending to speak on the bill, but I have to say thank you to Senator Deary for your leadership. You are a listening legislator, which I think is the highest compliment.
Now SB 202 heads to the Indiana House of Representatives. Last year, the House blocked funding for certain IU research on sexuality and gender. Robinson says universities need to keep their guard up.
Is it too late to turn it around? And hopefully not. Hopefully we have concerted effort to lobby against this bill coming from the university.
An IU spokesperson says the university is in touch with Senator Deary about the bill. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Ethan Sandweiss.
Now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a similar bill targeting tenure in his state last year. Faculty and staff of the Eskenazi School of Art, Architecture, and Design have joined the chorus criticizing Indiana University for canceling an exhibit by a Palestinian artist. The long-planned exhibit, called Samia Halabi, Centers of Energy, was scheduled to be unveiled at the Eskenazi Museum of Art this month. Now, the letter says the cancellation damages the university's reputation as a haven of creative expression, academic freedom, and human rights. It cites a number of exhibits that are designed to tackle uncomfortable issues and be critical of history. Like others, the letter is skeptical of the university, citing security reasons for canceling the exhibit without providing specific, credible threats. We're joined now by Roland Ricketts, a professor of fiber in the Eskenazi School of Art, Architecture, and Design. Welcome to the show. So nice to have you here. Let's just start. Who is Samia Halabi?
So Samia Halabi is a Palestinian-American artist who was born in 1936 during the British Mandate of Palestine, and then in 1948, at the age of 11, her family was forced to flee their home in Jaffa, first for Beirut, and then eventually in 1951 to the U.S., where they settled in Cincinnati. And she studied art and eventually arrived here at Indiana University, where she received her MFA in painting from what is now our school, the Eskenazi School of Art, Architecture, and Design. And she taught here for a number of years for us, before moving on to Yale, where she became the first female associate professor. And she's been active as an artist living in New York since the 1970s. She's internationally recognized as an icon of both abstract painting and digital art. And just to give you some sense of her stature in the art world, her work is in the collection of the British Museum, the Guggenheim Museum, the Art Institute of Chicago, the Detroit Institute of Arts, the Cleveland Museum of Art, and many, many other, including our very own Eskenazi Museum of Art.
So what makes this exhibit so important for this museum?
Well, you know, this exhibition, Samia Halabi Centers of Energy, was really to be the first retrospective of this amazing artist's work here in the U.S. And to be honest, the timing really could not have been better, because Halabi's work this year is now going to be included in the Venice Biennale as well, which is really the pinnacle of both the global art world as well as her career. So this was really a time for IU and for Hoosiers more broadly to uphold and celebrate Halabi's vast contributions to art and culture, both in the U.S. and globally.
So obviously the cancellation happened. What kind of impact did that have on the school?
So unfortunately for our school, as we outlined in our letter, we've had two internationally acclaimed artists who were scheduled to be here as part of our an endowed visiting artist series who have canceled on us, citing the cancellation as part of that. And a former participant in that as well has reached out saying that because of this cancellation, she plans to never return to IU.
So what do you hope comes from this letter that was sent out?
Well, I think first of all, as artists and educators, we really want to register our opposition to this decision to cancel the exhibition and to assert that it really doesn't represent who we are. We also, like I said, we really want to celebrate this artist and her deep personal ties to IU, to Bloomington, and to our school. And so with that in mind, we're really hoping to prompt a conversation with administration in order to repair the university's relationship with Hollaby, to find a way to reinstate the exhibition, to receive assurances that academic freedom, creative expression, and all members of our community are upheld at IU. And finally, we hope to set the stage for more transparent decision-making, repairing IU's reputation, and most importantly, like I just said, we hope to celebrate this world-renowned artist as a distinguished alumni and faculty member.
We have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're joined now by Callie Lichter for more headlines from around the state. Hi, Callie.
Hi, Joe. The city of Bloomington is walking back a plan to relocate the police headquarters into the western part of City Hall. At the request of Mayor Carrie Thompson, the Redevelopment Commission rejected all 4 construction bids for the space known as Showers West. Thompson says she looked at the project's cost and discovered the city could not afford the project in its entirety.
There was no way to proceed and guarantee that we had enough money to do showers as it was outlined.
Thompson says she wants to use the space for a different public purpose, but still plans to house the fire department administration there.
We, interestingly, already have several nonprofits over there that sort of circle around public safety in some way.
She's considering several options for a future police headquarters, some of which involve keeping the current station. Thompson's pausing any further lease negotiations for tenants the city still leases space to in the building. Danish investment group Novo Holdings will acquire pharmaceutical manufacturer Catalent for $16.5 billion in cash. Catalent's Bloomington facility will be sold directly to pharma giant Novo Nordisk, along with 2 other facilities in Europe that also specialize in fill-finish operations. Catalent expects the deal to close around the end of the year. When the acquisition is complete, Catalent will become a private company no longer listed on the New York Stock Exchange. A committee has recommended making all current polling sites in Monroe County voting centers, where any county resident can vote regardless of their precinct. The approach differs from what other counties have done, which is to consolidate precinct-based polling sites into fewer vote centers. County officials worry removing a traditional polling site from a rural area could affect rural voting access.
If you consolidate, there are people on the vote center committee who are concerned that some people will be disenfranchised.
Brown says if Monroe County moves forward with vote centers, the model won't be adopted this year. Monroe County is one of 29 in Indiana which does not have vote centers. The union representing Indiana University grad students is exploring a strike after a no-confidence vote in President Pamela Whitten passed this week. The Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition continues to seek a path to union recognition and higher wages. It reached out to Whitten in January but received no response. The coalition also criticizes Whitten's handling of recent events, including the potential severing of the Kinsey Institute and the suspension of a Palestinian professor.
The entire IU community is concerned about these issues, and these issues are intersecting.
Ali says union leaders are working with its 1,300 members to see if a strike is the best way to fight for their demands. Bloomington Transit is considering a rapid transit line connecting the city's east and west sides. Pat Bean has the story.
Dubbed the Green Line, the route would provide frequent bus service along a corridor from Ivy Tech in the west to just east of State Road 446 in the east. The $450,000 study will analyze the project's feasibility.
We feel pretty confident it is a viable project, but we want to, do our due diligence, make sure before because it's going to require significant investment.
Connell says BT's goals for the project are faster travel, additional buses, and dedicated bus-only lanes.
It's considered rapid transit in the sense that the frequency of service will be at a minimum of every 15 minutes.
Connell says the plan also could include pre-board fare payments, enhanced stations, and improved vehicles. The project's cost will be determined by the study. Connell says the project could be in development by late 2025 or early 2026. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Pat Bean.
And Joe, despite some initial bugs, Blooming Transit has full confidence in their new app's abilities.
I like the integration to other items as well.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Callie. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. A bill heading to the governor's desk will lower the number of Class 3 wetlands and reducing protections across the state. And we visit with a family who adopted one of their children through the state's Safe Haven Baby Box program. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
The Black preaching tradition is deeply connected to gospel music. Our singers preach and our preachers sing.
God, we ask that you reinvigorate somebody.
You feel it deep down in your soul. It makes you want to shout, it makes you want to sing.
That's beautiful. Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. A controversial state program is allowing anyone to submit to a public online site examples of race, gender, and political ideology being taught in schools throughout the state. Violet Cumber-Weiland reports some school corporations and districts are already expressing concerns with documents on the portal.
My office is launching Eyes on Education, an online platform for students and parents to submit and view real examples of indoctrination in classrooms across our state.
The Eyes on Education platform allows all Hoosiers to view submitted photos, screenshots, and presentation materials from districts and universities across the state that the office describes as potentially inappropriate. In a statement, the Office of the Attorney General says it will investigate materials and complaints submitted to the portal. Several school districts with materials featured on the portal have since released statements calling the information outdated and incorrect. Other districts, including Noblesville Schools, say they were not aware of the site or the documents on it prior to its release. Some districts have also expressed concerns about how this type of information may affect teaching environments and may cause teachers to feel less supported. The Indiana State Teachers Association said in a statement this portal will create division between parents and educators and would target public schools. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Violet Cumber-Weiland.
A controversial bill that would reduce protections for the state's wetlands is headed to Governor Eric Holcomb's desk. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports the bill would lower the number of wetlands that could fall into Class 3, the only class that didn't lose significant protections when the state changed its wetlands law in 2021.
That change also created a wetlands task force to find balance between advocates, regulators, and developers. But the member representing home builders didn't show up to the meetings. Now, 2 years later, the State Department of Environmental Management and developers say they've struck a compromise in this latest bill. Yet wetland advocates and experts say they weren't consulted. Republican Senator Sue Glick applauded IDEM's work to bring clarity to developers in light of a U.S. Supreme Court decision. Still, she didn't vote for the bill.
I think it has some serious shortcomings which might have been resolved had everyone been a part of the discussions.
After about 3 years of debate, it's unclear when Indiana will reach a true compromise with all stakeholders at the table. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
Hoosiers in need after a disaster would be able to access more money more easily from the state's Disaster Relief Fund under legislation headed to the House. Now, the bill would provide up to $25,000, an increase from $10,000 for individuals with lost or damaged property due to a disaster. Indiana's Disaster Relief Fund is funded by a fee on the sale of fireworks. And in what's being called the feel-good bill of the 2024 session, there may be no stopping kids from having lemonade stands for the summer. The bill would ensure no local government, agency, or homeowner association can regulate a stand run by someone who's under age 18. But the stand can't operate for more than 2 days in a row and more than 8 days out of every 30. You can follow all the latest news from the State House on our website at WTIUnews.org. The session is scheduled to run through March 14th. Indiana has the second highest infant mortality rate in the Midwest following Ohio. One organization aims to decrease infant deaths by focusing on infant abandonments. Parents Bruce and Shelby adopted their daughters in 2022 through different avenues, one of which was from a safe haven baby box. Benta Boutier reports.
Last time.
Oh, you should do your song. Come on, Sissy.
It's Wednesday evening at the Fultonskis' house in Mishawaka, and the family is working on homework and eating an after-school snack.
You want Daddy to cut you an apple?
Okay. Bruce and Shelby help their 10-year-old Kaya go over her weekly Bible verse to memorize for school.
Those who have been brought from death to life. That's a long one.
They fostered Kaya 3 years ago before adopting her in March 2022. A month later, on a trip celebrating the adoption, they received a call asking if they would want to adopt again. This time, it was a baby surrendered to a safe haven baby box at a hospital in Lake County.
When we adopted Kaya, we had to have a license, not just fostering, but foster to adopt license. And so when we had that, I guess, then we were put on a list.
Neither Shelby or Bruce were familiar with the safe haven law or boxes. Indiana allows someone to surrender a baby under 30 days old anonymously to a hospital, fire station, or other emergency medical professionals.
We were just enjoying that, realizing, God had answered our prayers and allowed us to have our families complete with Kaya. Yeah. And when they were contacting us about the safe haven baby, we didn't even know that we were on a list.
The initial call was just for an interview, and Bruce and Shelby figured their chances were slim. Their original family plans didn't include adoption, but that shifted after difficulty with fertility.
We were like, well, surely, I'm sure hundreds of people are probably interviewing, right? Surely we won't. But again, we were just so surrendered that we, went ahead and took that step of faith, and we had an interview. Mm-hmm. And yeah, then just a few hours later, they called us after the interview and said that they had chosen our family.
When I was coming home from school, when my mom picked me up, and she asked me, "Do you want a baby sister?" And I said yes.
Her new sister, Maya, stayed with a foster family for a couple weeks. The goal with Safe Haven children is to place them with their adoptive families within a month of being surrendered. 5 months after getting the call, the Fultonskis finalized the paperwork to adopt Maya on November 23rd, National Adoption Day. Maya was less than 24 hours old, wrapped in a towel, when she was surrendered to a baby box in Hammond. Children surrendered first go to the hospital for medical care. The adoption is managed by the Department of Child Services or an agency. The Indiana-founded nonprofit Safe Haven Baby Boxes aims to make that process as safe as possible by helping parents surrendering an infant remain anonymous.
But our program is, will you walk into a fire station and hand this child to a person? If they say yes, then we'll do the legwork for them. We'll call the location, let them know they're coming. We will walk alongside her as she goes up there, making sure that she feels comfortable doing what she's doing. If she won't walk into a facility, then of course we're going to give her the instructions for how to use the baby box.
Kelsey started the nonprofit in 2015, installing the first boxes in 2016. Safe Haven has a hotline and a licensed counselor for people considering options for their newborn. Kelsey says nationally they received 187 calls in January.
Whether it be a Safe Haven surrender, whether it be an adoption plan, whether it be a parenting plan. We want to make sure that these parents are choosing what they want to do.
When a baby is surrendered, Kelsey holds a press conference thanking the parent and assuring them their child is safe. Kelsey says they often hear from that parent afterward. She added many people who called did not tell anyone they were pregnant.
If she's watching, which most of the time they are, they call us. They get their counseling, they get their medical care.
Remember when she could only say daddy?
There was a season of that?
There was.
Bruce and Shelby are grateful to Maya's mom. They start their day early, getting Kaya to school and caring for Maya, who is nearly 2.
I think the biggest thing, our hope, is that the girls would know that they're loved.
They have, 2 moms and 2 dads that cared for them in different ways, and their birth parents are part of their life and story. So just to know that they are loved and cared for.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Ben Taboutier.
And the start of spring football is less than a month away, and it'll be Indiana's first under new head coach Curt Cignetti. Along with reshaping the roster through the transfer portal, Cignetti wants to reshape the perception of Indiana football.
You need to erase the tape because here's what it's going to look like. And but we got to do it on the field. And, when you're successful on the field, then you start to change the way the public and the state and the Big Ten and the country think about Indiana football.
That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Maller-Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnerships with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. Smithville Fiber Internet Security Solutions and Voice in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger & Robertson Attorneys at Law, utilizing 75 years of experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.